Hello everyone, welcome back to this channel. So in this video, we will learn about the new things called Kubernetes. So if you are having a plan to deep dive into DevOps world, so I can suggest you to learn about Kubernetes, okay? Because this is one of the most famous open source project out there that we all use in the DevOps fields or industry. Okay, yeah, for sure. In this video, I will explain the Kubernetes for the beginner. So we will like having the video to prepare you from zero knowledge of the Kubernetes to be able to set up your own Kubernetes cluster on your local laptop, and also to be able for you to interact the cluster with the kubectl, and also for you to run or play around with your cluster that you already set up. So the outline for this video is the first, like the brief explanation of the Kubernetes, like what is the Kubernetes and why we are using Kubernetes, something like that. And the second is the Kubernetes installation on Windows, so you can use your own laptop, so you can explore Kubernetes without you are need to pay some cloud provider for only the exploration. Okay, and the third is like the kubectl explanation, and the fourth is playing around with the cluster that we will configure today. Okay, so that's all. First thing first, if you feel that this video is useful for you, or the channel itself also useful, don't forget to subscribe and share this video so the other friend also can watch this video and learn about the Kubernetes. So let's start with the Kubernetes brief explanation. So what is the Kubernetes actually? To put them in the simple term, the Kubernetes is actually a platform on or open source platform that help us to manage our containers application. So the key here is actually the application that we want to deploy to Kubernetes should be already in the container. So let's say we still have the application that need to be run on top of the virtual machine directly, then for sure we cannot use Kubernetes. So we need to transform them first to be a container. Only after that we can deploy them into Kubernetes, because the Kubernetes actually to orchestrate the container to behave like what we define based on the configuration. So let's say this is the one of the case that we need to use Kubernetes. So Kubernetes can help us to manage the application whenever we need more application to run behind, or we need to reduce the number of the application itself. So let's say right now we only have like 100 customer, then we only need one application running at the back, okay, at the back. But then let's say we have like 1500 users, then for sure it is like different scenario. We need to scale the number of applications so every customer will be, or every user able to use the application without any issue. But then this is the thing that we can use Kubernetes, so the auto scaling, like the increasing the number of application or even the reducing the number of application, actually can be done automatically without we are interfered. Okay, so that's the thing, what is the Kubernetes and why it is so popular. Okay, so now let's start about the simple explanation about Kubernetes cluster. So in the Kubernetes cluster, there will be like the control plane. This is actually the point where we interact with the Kubernetes cluster itself. I mean, when we are using the kubectl, actually it will like interacting with that, and then there will be a node where the container actually running. It can be like one node or more than one, so it's depend based on your needs actually. But configuring and installing all of them, actually it will be like painful for the beginners. So in this case we are using the Docker desktop to handle those installation and configuration. So at the end of the day we will have our Kubernetes cluster running on our local without much effort on installing them, so we can like focusing to learn about how to utilize the Kubernetes feature itself. Okay, so let's get started for that. Let's get back to this. So the thing that we will do now is actually Kubernetes installation on Windows. So for the first thing first, we need to install the WSL. Okay, let's install that. Open your PowerShell and use this wsl install -d and the distro. In this case, is Ubuntu. Okay, actually, it will ask you about the username, the password, and something like that. In this case, I already done that part because I don't want to waste our time by only waiting for that. Okay, that's the first step. Now I already have the Ubuntu running on my Windows laptop, Windows machine, so I can do anything here. So like I can get update to update the repository and something like that. Okay, let's just update the repository and make sure the basic things is there, like the nano and frame and everything there. Okay, now it's done. So the second thing is actually we can do the installation of the Docker desktop here. So you can follow the link that present in the docker.com/desktop/release note, and you can choose whenever that you like. I prefer the latest one, so I will choose this one and install this. And in my case, actually, I already have that installed. Again, it is like to speed up the process. So after installation, you will have this. Let's accept that. You can use like a recommend setting, because like most of us will be like, yeah, I mean, use the default configuration instead. Okay, now we will have this. Let's continue with the sign in. What's your role? Okay, let's okay, skip this one. See, now the Docker engine is starting. At this point, actually, from your local laptop, you can run Docker to run the container. Okay, so that's also the good thing. So we haven't like talked about how to interact with the Kubernetes, but now you already have the Windows machine to run the container. So you can like playing around with the container first if you are not familiar with that. Only after that we can use Kubernetes to utilize, or we can like exploring more to deploy the container to the Kubernetes cluster itself. Okay, so let's wait until the Docker engine is ready, and we will jump back again to this topic. Now it's ready. See, this is the Docker desktop, and now we can do some uh, feature enable. Now just go to the setting, and there is like Kubernetes here, and enable Kubernetes and apply and restart the Docker desktop. So with this, actually your laptop will be Kubernetes cluster, so you can do many things with your laptop without you need to pay for the Kubernetes service on the cloud provider, because it is quite costly if you only do that for the exploration. So let's wait for this to be done. Okay, now it's done. And if you notice, actually the number of RAM that it used is now increased from previously. I think the previous one is only like 2 GB, and now it is like almost 6 GB. See the increasing. So yeah, now let's continue again. Let's back to this. Okay, it's terminated. Then let's back to this. Okay, now let's launch the Ubuntu WSL again. Now this is it. Okay, this is done. Okay, kubectl. Let's see. Wait a moment for this. Let's see another. Let's check some configuration here. So let's see the Docker engine. The WSL integration. So let's wait for, okay, no need for that. Okay, let's wait a moment for this. Okay, now back again here. Let's create a new tab. Command console. Okay, now let's see whether there is folder called the cube. Okay, it's there. There is a config. Now let's try use the kubectl get pods. Oh, sorry, this one is not this. Okay, let's not this one. Let's close this. And I need to download first for the kubeconfig here. So let's wait a moment. Okay, apparently I need to change the WSL. So new PowerShell here. Let's try WSL set default version, I believe. Okay, now it's done. So let's run again the Ubuntu. Okay, it's good. Now let's go to resource and refresh this. Let's see again. Okay, still not that. I think need to fix this first. So wait a moment. Okay, let's try to apply again. Whether it is good. And let's close this. Okay, let me try to close the Docker engine first. Let's restart that. Restart and let's wait. Okay, Kubernetes also starting now. Okay, now it's good. Both are good. Let's check again. Okay, now it is like already WSL2. Integration is done. Now let's open the WSL. This okay, this one should be good. Let's try again. Docker. No, it's still not. Why? Okay. Okay, I think this is because it's installed, but it's okay. We can ignore that for now. Now let's back. Okay, this will be good actually. Okay. Let's try again. PowerShell. I think instead of the Ubuntu, we can use the other one. WSL. Okay, WSL. Wait a moment for that. Let's see which one I should use now. Okay, okay. Set version for this to v2. Okay, let's wait a moment for this. No, it's converting. Okay, let's see again. Okay, I think this is the Docker desktop, but it's okay. Docker, let's see. Okay, now Docker installed kubectl. That's also installed. Nice. So now we already have what we need. So it is the WSL, the the one that we can use for interacting with the Kubernetes. Now, since you see this is the Kubernetes, right? It is already installed. And here, let's see. Okay. Kube config. Okay, this one should be good. Now, kubectl get pods. Let's see. See? No resource found in the default namespace. So now, what I plan to explain is the kubectl. So the kubectl is actually the client to interacting with the Kubernetes, or tool to interacting with the Kubernetes cluster. In our case, since we are using local Kubernetes from the Docker desktop, actually what we are doing is interacting with the Kubernetes here. But let's say if we want to interacting with the other Kubernetes, actually we can change or add a new config in this folder. So basically it will look for .kube config here. So if you want to put some other configuration, actually you can use this. I just want to replicate this config. Let's say this one is kube customize, something like this. And during the kubectl execution, you can kubeconfig something like this and put the file path. Okay, kube customize. See, so not the, see what not this one. Okay, not this one. So I think this is, yeah, this is the example actually. So this will specify which kubeconfig that you need to or you want to use. In this case, this is my old Kubernetes config for the AWS. So let's say you also have the AWS, you can put here and specify like this, or even like if you have the Kubernetes config for the GCP, then also you can like specify like this. There's no issue for that. Okay, now by default kubectl get pods. See, this one actually will use the default Kubernetes config to interact with the Kubernetes on my laptop, on my local. So now what we can do is we already able to interact with the cluster, get the deployment, or kubectl get service. See, this is the service kubectl get namespace. So okay, so the namespace, we will talk about the namespace later in another video, but by default we will have this default namespace to deploy our application, or our deployment, or even pod, or everything, anything. Okay, so let's say, okay, we want to create a certain pod here in the default, and then we will have another namespace to split the environment. Let's say the dev namespace or prod namespace, we also can do that. Okay, so by using that, actually we will have like completely separated a point of view of the deployment. So we can like get a clear picture. Okay, we already have this application A on the dev, but still not in the prod or something like that. So we can able to do that. So now we will try to deploy the first pod. So this is the simple pod actually to what I call to run the nginx. Okay, so this is a very simple pod. See, so the first one, let's try make there the Kubernetes tutorial. See, Kubernetes tutorial. So we can do the resource creation, deletion, listing, everything using the kubectl command as a command line. Yeah, or even we can use the definition. So let's say we want to create a new pod with the nginx image from the Docker image, I mean from the Docker Hub. This is the public repository. Then we also can do that. So now kubectl get pods, see, something like this. There is no any what I call pods running now. Now let's try to create the nginx pod.yml. See, something like this. And we can define, if we want to create the pod, the name is nginx, and we do the specification. It is like container with the container name is the nginx with the name of the container, the image. Okay, the image name, the one that we want to deploy, is nginx 1.14.2, and the container port is 80. So after this, when we save this, we can do the kubectl apply to apply the definition, and it will do the command, I mean the pod creation, nginx something like this. And what we can expect is actually once we execute this, we will have one pod when we do the kubectl get pods. Okay, let's try. See, this is the pod nginx created. So when we do this kubectl get pods, see, we already have one pod in creation mode. So we also can check what is the status of the pod using like kubectl describe pod. The name is nginx like we define, and see, now you see like it is like the IP is this one, and this is the image name and the tag, something like that. The port is 80, the status, the state now like that. Okay, now previously 30 seconds ago it is like pulling image from the Docker Hub, then it's successfully, and then start the container, and not Docker, kubectl get pod. See, now it's running. See, it's easy actually. So let's say, okay, this is now the question is like how we can verify whether like this one is actually for sure is running. See, so I mean many things that you can do. Let's say, okay, let's deploy one more pod. Let's try or even like we can curl pod. Let's say we deploy a curl pod to test the connection here. So the curl pod Kubernetes, I need to check what the curl version that we can use. I think I can use kubectl run curl and the image. Let me check first. Docker Hub curl. Okay, let's change this. Let's see whether we can use this one or the other one. Let's curl. I think this one is better. Curl image. See, this is the image and this is the text. What is the, okay, there is a latest tag here, so we can use this instead. Okay, the image is this one, and I need to have the bash after that. Okay, let's see, bash, or I think sh will be good. Let's wait a moment. I think the one that take time now is actually the what I call the image pooling step. Okay, see, now I already have pod called the cure pod. Okay, and it is coming from this image. Now in previous step, actually we already have the IP of the nginx. See this one. So what we can do is to check whether there is an application of the nginx is running on Kubernetes. This is I mean only for the proof of concept, but later actually we will talk about the service deployment and everything. Okay, but now we will talk about this one. So we can do curl http, see, and see we can get the response from this IP, because this IP is actually from the pod of the nginx, this one. So now let's open new the BSL, see, and kubectl get service. Okay, this is the cluster service. And now let's check again kubectl get pods. Okay, let's guess how many pods that we have now, 1 or 2. And yeah, we have 2, because the second one is actually the curl pod. Now let's say we want to make some changes for the what I call for the content of the nginx. So what we can do is kubectl exec the content, the pod name, and let's say using bash. And I believe the whether it is var w no, but so it should be under user share html. User share is that okay? Let's see. I'm not quite sure where is the html file here. Okay, nginx html should be here. See, there is index.html. Now let me change that to another content, another value. So when we do curl here, it will be reflected there. So let me go to this directory, and then okay, I think I will create a new file, DevOps and cloud with aria, and create a new file. Instead of index is youtube.html. HTML. It's done. Now when I type this youtube.html, what I can expect is it will return DevOps and cloud with aria. So for now, we already sure that actually in our case we already have the Kubernetes cluster running, and we already able to deploy a container to our Kubernetes cluster and already able to interact with them. Okay, so this is the thing that I mean a good start for us to do the management or the orchestration for our application. In the next video, it will we will talk completely a different thing. So this is only for introduction to have you grasp the idea about the Kubernetes on how we do the first deployment of the pod. But in the next video, we will talk more about like what is the deployment, okay, what is the pod, how we can like define what's the deployment definition, and whether we want to access the what they call the pods itself. So because sorry, this is incorrect. Let's go back again. Oh no, that's correct. Because basically when we deploy kubectl get pods are even like the deployment. See, now there is no deployment because I deployed the pods directly. Kubectl get deployment. See, there is no deployment. So now basically if we deploy the pod, we should expect that we can access that from our browser, whether it and not from another pod, right, or another container. So that's the thing. So later actually we will talk about that, and we can do that by using service. Using service, actually we can expose our container or service or application that inside the container to the external IP that we can access. By that actually we can do the access for those container from the browser or from anything. This is the similar concept actually when we have like the Kubernetes on the cloud provider. So we are exposing the service so we can access them. Okay, so now actually I show you that actually we already have that by using the curl to check whether the service is running or not, but for sure later we will talk about the service. And there is another way actually, if you don't want to expose your container as a service but you still want to test something, then we can do the things called the Kubernetes port forward. Okay, the idea is Kubernetes kubectl port forward is actually to forward the port from your what I call from your local to the container itself. So let's try whether it works, but for sure we will talk about the what I call the service later in another video, because it will be like completely different a topic. Okay, so what we can do now here, we can type kubectl port forward and the port name. Okay, it's like nginx and the local port. Let's say I want to access that from this port. Okay, and it will be mapped to local port inside nginx is 80. Okay, now see this one, I should be able actually to access the what I call the nginx from this WSL. So I do not need to make the pod which has a curl or and I need to attach into that pod. No, I just need to execute from my WSL. See, and HTML, dev code and cloud with area. And let's see whether I also can do that here. Localhost. No, it's cannot unsafe port. Okay, my bad. This is not because of that. Okay, no problem. Let's change to another port. See, let's. Okay, this will be 8080 and change this 8080 and see, I can access the nginx container now, or even like if you're not sure, on HTML. And it works. So I already have the application running on Kubernetes and I can access that from my Windows web browser. Isn't that cool? Okay, now let's check whether it is like really working, because I mean, get pods. Is it true that this port is corresponding to this pod, instead of, let's say, behind of all of this I already prepare port this to have this youtube.html and also the index. See, I mean, let's check whether it is true, if this port is really mapped to this container. So let's try to delete the port. Okay, delete port nginx. Port nginx deleted, and now when I check get ports, see, it is only one port remains. And if I reload this, empty response, because the port is gone and there is no destination port that as a target. And it is also like, see, this is already container not running and there is no destination for that. See, so now we can really sure that actually we are accessing container from our web browser. Okay, and then again, what we'll talk in another video, in the next video, is more about the deployment, is more about the service, how we can expose the service easily from the definition file, so we don't need to have the port forwarding, because this is only for debugging purpose only. Okay, so that's only to show you whether we are really have the container running in the Kubernetes, and it does. Okay, so now this is the end of this video. If you feel that this video is useful for you, please share this video, and if you feel that, please also to subscribe to this channel, because most of the viewer actually not subscribe, but it really helps if you subscribe to this channel. And again, thank you for your attention and see you in the next video.